Iwa Kakeru Sport Climbing Girls is about a prima ballerina turned puzzle game master who wanted to socialize and join a school club. Turns out she is a sport climbing prodigy and ends up joining her school's sport climbing team. Sport Climbing Girls is a sport anime at heart and has a lot in common with most sport anime, which is to say a large cast of quirky, diverse characters, each with their own techniques and methods to perform their own sport, and as well as tense competition that can really only be achieved in sports anime because there's no real consequences for failure like there would be in a fight to the death, for example. This allows the tension of Sport Climbing Girls to get ratcheted up incredibly high, because after all, it doesn't really matter if any of the characters fail. The show does a good job of establishing and sort of working into its side cast. I really appreciated that it managed to put some time and attention into all of the characters, although a lot of the tertiary and second cast end up coming off kind of shallow, but there's still enough there that you can get an appreciation for them. My favorites of the tertiary cast include a girl that talks like a samurai for no reason, and another girl who has no gimmick unlike every other character in the show, and her climbing is noted to be incredibly ordinary. She's just really passionate about it. And I love the idea about someone's whole gimmick being that they have no gimmick. They're just the most normal person in the show. I think that's delightful. Some of the secondary cast do get more development, like the rivals for the main four girls of the show, and they all get their own time to shine, and I'm not necessarily certain if their team leader necessarily has a rival, but considering the amount of time put into Black Panther, I imagine Black Panther would be considered her rival in this case, because they don't super delve into the Spider-Girl, but regardless, the amount of tension they put into the sidecast actually allows you to end up start rooting for them. Like when Black Panther actually managed to clear that wall at the end, I was cheering out loud, and that girl had maybe 10 minutes of screen time the entire show. But needless to say, they don't just focus on their secondary cast. All of our four main girls end up getting their own arcs and end up developing in their own way and improving their own skills and overcoming their own challenges. The main character gets even more special attention, as she's probably the only one that has multiple arcs and multiple things to overcome. I like how, despite the fact that she's a prodigy, she's not necessarily instantly good at everything, and some of the things they point out is that she doesn't know the techniques, even though her entire gimmick is she can figure out how to climb the wall. She sometimes falters because she's too inexperienced to actually do it. They also delve into the fact that she's too analytical, and so she's actually kind of slow. So she has a lot of faults, not just one fault, but multiple faults that are explored and end up leading to her own insecurities and end up leading to one of her arcs being completed down the line where she learns to sort of overcome those insecurities. As mentioned before, the diverse and large cast allows you to really end up rooting for almost anyone, although I will say that the main antagonist of this is kind of unlikable. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because it even more further helps you root for everyone else against her. There is an excellent moment of tension towards the end of the show where the main character is just steps away from climbing the wall, right? And the whole show just slows down and you just have this tense moment and these brief cuts, and all you can hear is the main character's breathing before she makes the final push. It is a brilliant moment of tension and really puts you on the edge of the seat, and you're really rooting for her throughout it. Where the show actually starts to lose you is that it's very rushed, and this is one of the only anime I can probably cite where it feels like it would actually benefit from having more episodes instead of less episodes. There are multiple multi-month time skips where things have happened, but it would have been a lot better if we got to see the characters develop during these time skips and actually got to see what they were accomplishing and what they were working on rather than just skipping through the time. And the final competition of the show lasts only 1.5 episodes, and the competition itself actually starts on the half episode mark instead of on the start of the episode, which means that it kind of just jumps right into the finale just out of nowhere. just heading directly into the climax, and it feels jarring, and it would have been a lot better to aid the dramatic tension of the show had it started at the beginning of an episode so they could have cliffhangered on the previous episode. Further to the point, right after the competition ends, the dialogue just cuts off and you see just postings of the rankings of how the characters did in the competition and how the teams did in the final competition over moving images of the characters, but without any actual dialogue. So we don't get to see the characters necessarily interact, and we don't get to see necessarily the consequences of these actions. There isn't really a conclusion or an epilogue. It's just, okay, the competition's over, so is the show. Iwa Kakeru Sport Climbing Girls is a good show. It is a good watch, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But if it had even one more episode, if it was 13 episodes instead of 12, it could have been a great watch. Twitch and Discord in the description. I've been Sacrobolic. Your Envoy of Hope. Bye-bye.